Everybody, welcome to the Ronline. Today I have as a guest legendary journalist, the greatest bodybuilding journalist of this or any other generation, Peter McGough. How are you, Peter?
I'm fine. Much better after that introduction. That's really set me up for the day. Thanks, Ron. You're not so bad yourself.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Peter, I know you're a very modest, very humble man, but think about it. Who's better than Peter McGough? Come on now.
Well, you've got a point there, I suppose.
I've only been reading the magazines for about 5 years, so maybe in like 100 years.
Yeah.
So I asked you to come on today because we had some huge news a couple days ago. Bill Heath missed last year's Olympia, announced he will be competing this year, coming back to the Olympia for 2020 to go for title number 8 to hopefully tie Lee Haney and Coleman's record. So, first of all, Peter, I want to know, what was your reaction when you first heard Phil say he was definitely coming back to the Olympia this
um, I actually thought he would come back. I thought he'd take the year out last year, collect himself together. But let me tell you something. He is driven. He's not driven to win an 8th Olympia title. He is driven to win 10 Olympia titles. Let me tell you a story.
I love your stories.
He won his first Olympia 2011. 2012, he won his second. The morning after, we went for lunch. And he told me at that time, he wanted to keep it under wraps. He says, people were talking about him taking a third. He said, no, I'm going for 10. I want to create the all-time record. And I'm sure this is what he's coming back for this time. It's not good enough to sort of get 8. Then he's got to get another 2. But he's got that 10 in his sights. He's had a year off. He's refreshed mentally. He's refreshed. It's going to be a hell of a contest. And it's not going to be that easy for him, because the other guys, they've got more confidence now. Brandon Curry is a real threat. Brandon reminds me a lot of previous Mr. Olympias like Dorian, Ronnie, Lee Haney to a certain extent. They won their first Olympia and everybody said, is this going to be the start of a run? The second one could be. The third one, it was a run. And they grew into it. They became more confident. They became better bodybuilders. Ronnie Coleman was a much better competitor once he'd won the title than he ever was going for it. And I see the same in Brandon. There's a pride there. He's not. He welcomes Phil's entry into the contest. He wants to be recognised as the best in the world. He doesn't want to say, well, he won by default because Phil wasn't there and maybe Sean Roden wasn't there. He wants to sort of stamp his authority on this contest. So Phil's not going to find it that easy. Having said that, I'm still of the impression that you could make a case that Phil perhaps did win in 2018. I know you disagreed with me.
No. I had Phil winning that show. I did.
Oh, you did. Sorry.
I did.
It was Giles. Giles, the other evil twin. Yeah. The okay, the midsection. So he loses out on the front double biceps, the front lat spread, and abs and thighs. Let's give them to Sean Roden. After that, from the side, from the back, most muscular abs don't really come into it. I just think Phil again had too much quality, depth, definition, separation. Not at his best, but still good enough to win. So I'm not convinced that you can't make an argument that it was a closer run thing than a lot of people think. So it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But like I say, Brandon will improve. Brandon will be a better bodybuilder, I predict, this year than he was last year.
Do you think the fact that Phil did lose the last time he was on the Olympus stage gives some of these guys perhaps a false sense of confidence that he was a great champion, but then at the very end it all started to fall apart on him? And I think a lot of these guys underestimate Phil's capabilities of what he can still bring to the stage, they're thinking, well, his midsection is never going to be what it flat and small like it used to be. But Phil's he's had almost 2 years away from the stage to fix these issues. Have you spoken to him? Do you know what's going on?
He seems to be pretty confident that those issues will be um, maybe partway resolved in a much better way than they have in the past.
Mm.
I think that he's, with Hanny Rambod, they'll know exactly what needs to be done. And they know that as soon as he walks out, everybody's going to be looking at his midsection to see whether there's any improvement. So he's really got to, that's the Achilles heel if we can sort of mix up the body parts.
Yeah.
So he's got to concentrate on keeping that midsection tight. He's got to improve it. And then he's got to dominate. I think the last time, you won 7 Olympia titles. I remember Dorian saying this when he got to 6, and he was going to go for 7th until he got the injury.
Yeah.
He said it started to feel like a job. It wasn't the vocation it was when I was going for the first one, and all I wanted was the Mr. Olympia. There was more to it. There was like, this was your income, this was your financial security. It became a job, an occupation rather than a vocation. So maybe Phil will get that fire back that he had in 2011 and 2012. If he can repeat 2011, it's all over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's no disrespect to the other men. It's just he was very close to unbeatable for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a case when he walked out 2011. I mean, he was second in 2010. I think he should have won in 2010 against Jay anyway.
Yeah.
But when he walked out, I was sitting one seat along from Flex Wheeler, and there was nobody in between us. And Flex Wheeler, he looked and he went, and his jaw dropped. I thought it was going to hit his knee. And he looked at me and he said, I've never seen anything like that. Now, this is Flex Wheeler, who we've never seen anything like, saying he's never seen anything like that. That really was a golden night. That to me is like one of the memories of, if you had to sort of say the half dozen best physiques you've ever seen, the moments, that would be one of them when Phil first walked out with that look on his face, and the green eyes staring laser like ahead, he really stamped his authority on the contest.
Yeah. When Phil sat out the contest last year, I was starting to feel like maybe he was retired. I felt he might have been at a point where he had proven all he wanted to prove in the sport, even though he didn't get that record of 10 that you referred to. But 7 Olympia titles, same as Arnold. Had other things going on, supplement company, clothing companies, possible film roles in the works, things like that. I had lost confidence that Phil would ever return. Did you always know in your heart, Peter, Phil would be back?
Yeah, because he's a competitor. You've got to remember, not that you've forgotten, but he's a basketball player. So he comes from that sort of scrap, get down there, get down and dirty, get it sorted out. I didn't. I would have been less surprised if he hadn't come back. And of course, I don't think he could have left it another year. This is the year to come back. It's fine to have last year off, sort things out, get things organised, and then concentrate on this year. And I would think his motivation this year must be sky high because he knows it's all on the line. There's a lot of people maybe don't want to see him win. There was that faction against him. Let's be honest. He divided people. Some people loved him, others didn't love him so much. And so to me, there was a mood that he was going to lose that Olympia. That we'd have gone year to year of the midsection. That one day it was going to catch up with him, and that day was 18 months ago, nearly 2 years ago now.
Just going back to 2018 for a minute, I want to back up the reasons I felt he won. Sean Roden, tremendous physique. Obviously, beautiful shape, beautiful symmetry, flowing lines, but weaknesses were his back and his triceps. And those are two of Phil's very dominant body parts. So from the back, Phil won with ease. All the rear lat spread, the
Yeah.
rear double bicep, side tricep, not even a question. Side chest, not even a question.
Yeah.
Um, and most muscular. Who's got a better crab most muscular than Phil Heath? My goodness. So what does he lose? He loses front double bicep, front lat spread, and ab and thigh. So if you're going pose, if you're doing math and saying 4 out of 7, he won 4 out of the 7 mandatory poses. So I would have given it to him. I've seen other Olympias where men like Lee Haney, Dorian, Ronnie were not at their best, and they still won, and they were off their mark more than I feel Phil was in 2018. Just
Yeah.
my
Actually, it would be five shots to three because there's eight. There used to be seven until they chucked in the most muscular.
oh that's
So
right.
he would run side chest, side tricep, but back lat spread, back double biceps, and abs and thighs.
Yeah. So
Not
if you're
abs and thighs. Sorry, most muscular.
muscular, yeah. So yeah,
Sorry.
that's 5/8. That's
Yeah.
definitely more than half.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I'm curious. I saw Kai Green make a post this morning on Instagram where once again he's teasing us. Stop doing that to us, Kai. He's saying Phil's coming back and he did his typical, thought ponderous, maybe I'll come back. In your heart of hearts, Peter, will we ever see Kai Green compete again?
No, because I think he's carved out his niche, hasn't he, as the uncrowned Mr. Olympia in his own mind and to his followers. 3 times runner up to Phil Heath, thinks it won every time. So he's in a position a little bit, well, not a little bit, but I'm drawing a comparison here.
Yeah.
Tom Plants, Tom,
Flats.
excuse me,
Yeah.
Tom Platz traded on being the uncrowned Mr. Olympia for best part of a decade,
Yeah.
after losing in 81. And he built that persona. And I think Kai's done the same one. He's got this niche of his own where he's out on his own, he's unique. Yeah, that guy should have won the Olympia. He should have won the Olympia 3 times. He's done it now. There's no point in doing it again. Kai is older than Phil. Phil is 40 now.
Yeah.
I think Kai is about 45 or coming up for that. If I've done him a disservice, I'm sorry
No, no,
about
no. I
that.
mean, he's another Albert Beckles where the age is kind of dubious in question sometimes, but most people who know Kai seem to believe he is 45 years old now. He's born in July 1975, which would make him 45.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
But
So I see that and I don't blame him. I mean, have a little bit of mischief with it. Have some fun with it if you like. I
yeah.
mean, we're I don't know whether we're expecting him to come into that big icon contest next year. Maybe that's what Kai's got on his mind. I don't know what the plans are for that contest anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we keep calling it. What was the name of the whole thing? Jeez, I can't remember the name of the encompassing event. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock's. But anyway, the Icon Classic. You got the correct name for the bodybuilding segment of it. I believe Phil had originally planned on doing that this year because mainly because his manager is Danny Garcia, who's the co-promoter of the event.
Yeah,
Um, and I was kind of concerned that he would do that and not the Olympia, which would have
yeah,
been, I would have been very disappointed had he done that because, geez, I mean, he's Mr. Olympia 7 times. Why would you not want to, especially the events were 3 weeks apart. It would have made no sense for him to just focus on the Rock show in
yeah.
Atlanta and forget about the Olympia. Had he done that, would you have felt it would have been a missed opportunity to get his title back?
Yeah, and I think deep down he wants that title more than anything else. He wants that title more than he wants the prize money. He wants to go in the record books. He wants that 10th. And you think about it, he's going to be 42 before that comes around. But he's not got a sort of a battle scarred physique. I know we've got the midsection problem, but there isn't. You know, Dorian started to suffer from injuries. Ronnie did the same thing.
Yeah.
Lee Haney, he kept himself pretty clean. Phil is probably the same way. There's no sort of, torn muscles or anything we can see around about his physique. He just needs to take care of that midsection.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Peter. I know you were one of the people who discovered Phil back in 2005 when I think you found out about him even before he won junior nationals. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was on Get Big, Ron Avedon's website. I saw these photos of this guy from Denver. They were only upper body shots, and I'd never seen quality like that. Never heard of the guy. He'd won the local qualifier to get to the junior nationals. And I had to track this guy down. I thought, I got to find out more about this guy. I just never seen that sort of fibrous muscle tissue, on somebody so I use the word immature at this stage,
Yes.
developing. Um, and so I tracked him down. He worked at Bally's in the nutrition store. So I come on the phone saying I'm interested in doing a feature on him. I'm from Flex magazine. He's a bit suspicious because he's heard all these stories. And I did say, it didn't help that this creepy old guy came on with an English accent. But anyway,
Yeah.
I had numerous conversations with him and he convinced me he had the right mental attitude. Then by chance, a few days later, Jay Cutler called me and said there's a kid in Denver who's going to be good. He'd done a guest spot in Denver, the same contest that Phil had won, and he did tell me a year after that, Jay said one of these days he's going to beat me and take my title.
Wow.
And that's what happened,
Wow.
So Phil was unique in my experience. I collected him from he was competing that weekend in the junior nationals in Chicago. I picked him up from the airport, not London Heathrow, LAX.
Okay.
No,
Underneath.
LAX, which
Oh,
I've
sure.
never done before
Yeah.
because I wanted to keep him under wraps. And I didn't want other people were after him. Steve was after him,
Yeah.
which was only natural. And I wanted to keep him under wraps. And I got to know him that whole weekend. We spent don't say this the wrong way, we spent the weekend together, socializing and all the rest of it. And he convinced me he had the right drive to be one of the top bodybuilders in the world. And in fact, the first time I told him that I thought he'd win the Olympia, he tells the story that I said he'd win the Olympia before he believed in it. I just knew. And people say, well, he's not wide enough. He's not this. Do me a favor. Look at the quality. Look at the
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah. So that's crazy because, contracts were hard to come by. He was under Weider contract before he even turned professional. Am I
Yeah,
right?
that's
For the USA.
that's unusual. And before we'd virtually done it, all we needed to do was to get him into the office to sign it. Everything else had been done. Robin Chang had done all the paperwork. And we took him into the office. The next day, we flew him out from Chicago, got him signed up, and he was a Weider athlete right through until the whole company sort of disintegrated or devolved into the way it was. Yeah.
I remember because I was able to get an interview with him for Robert Kennedy's Muscle Mag. Sure, I think it was right after he won. It must have been right before he signed that Weider contract because I think he had already won junior nationals and he was in prep for the USA when I spoke with him. And then, of course, he was locked
Yes.
up and I couldn't speak to him again for like 15 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it was a long time. Well, it was about 13 years. It was a long time, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how soon would you say you saw that potential in him to be a multiple Mr. Olympia? Was it that far back?
I knew he had the potential, the physical potential to be a top bodybuilder, top 5 Olympia. I felt that right from when he entered his first pro show, which was in his hometown of Denver, and he won that one. Then the following week, he won I was going to say the Night of the Champions, but it was the New York Pro by then.
Yeah.
He didn't enter the Olympia for a couple of years. He kept back. And then I believe his first Olympia was 2008,
Yeah.
and he finished fifth. But I know a couple of judges said he wasn't as good on the Friday night as he was on the Saturday. If it had looked like he was on the Saturday, he could have won that year. He was that good. And that's when I realised it's only a matter of time before this guy steps up. You know, I actually thought he would have won it before 2011. If he had done, he'd have been on. He'd have had about 8 already, and he'd be going for 9 and 10. You know.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, I remember the 2010 Olympia vividly because as soon as Phil was announced in second place, roughly half that crowd in the Orleans immediately stood up, walked out without hearing anything else, any victory speeches from Jay, nothing. They were
Yeah.
upset. They just stormed out of there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he should. If that was the case, he would have had eight titles already.
Yeah.
And had he competed last year, maybe 9. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I'm curious as to your thoughts with the Olympia. Now we're just talking about the Olympia in general. We still have a travel ban in effect with a lot of nations not being able to travel into the United States. I know you don't have a crystal ball, neither do I, so we don't know what's going to change between now and December. But what if we only had Americans in the Olympia, Americans and Canadians and Mexicans? I mean, would that really be an Olympia?
Well, you know, an Olympia is who turns up, and you know, and it's. I mean, it'd be very unfortunate for non-North Americans not to compete in it, and it would take away from it. You know, the more I think about it, yeah, it would sort of say, well, you know, where's Big Ramy? Where's, you know, the Iranian guy? Where's this guy? You know, um,
Think
it
about
can
how
be,
many Europeans have, especially now, Big Ramy, Hadi Chupan, Rolly Winkler, William Bonac,
yeah,
uh, some of the very, very best Olympians are from outside the United, which has been the case for many, many years. But, I'm really, really hoping that that situation changes because we
yes,
want the best guys up there, of course, all of them. Okay.
yeah.
So if you're a gambling man and someone said, lay down your money right now, would you lay your money down on Phil Heath to win?
I probably would say if if I had to make the choice, yes, I think Phil is going to win. But I have a very, very strong. I just have this confidence that Brandon Curry is going to be so much better than he was. That sounds as if he wasn't that good. He was that good. I mean, there's a guy that's grown into being Mr. Olympia. He suits being Mr. Olympia. The persona of Mr. Olympia suits him. It's not like he's overawed by it. You know, he's got the family. He's got everything there. You know, he's a great guy. He's playing the role correctly, and he's really enjoying it. So, you know, he'll be a threat.
Yeah.
You know, we've got Flex Lewis. You've got the guy whose name I can't pronounce that, you know, was third last year.
Hadi
Um,
Chupan. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You practiced that one. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I did.
Um, you know, and then the usual suspects that then we don't know. Will Sean Roden be back? I mean, I don't know what the latest situation is there. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course, we want everybody up there, all the best. That's the Olympia. It's the best bodybuilders in the world, and we have to decide, or the judges have to decide, I should say, who deserves to be crowned Mr. Olympia that year. And I agree with you about Brandon. I think he's getting better and better all the time. The Brandon Curry of 5 years ago, nobody would have dreamed he could be Mr. Olympia. To
No.
me, he was one of those B-list guys who was just kind of would struggle and eke out a career for a few more years, and that would be the end of him. I never thought he'd be where he is now. So he
No.
could really pull it out and come in. I'd like to see him give Phil the fight of his life the way Kai did those 3 years in a row because those
Oh
were
yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
those were those were epic showdowns. Those are wonderful to watch. Nail biters. You didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, cool. Yeah, I mean, what are the odds we can get you to the Olympia this year, Peter?
If I can travel, I'll get there. You know, I haven't been since 2015, believe it or not. You
Ah,
know, after a run of, I don't know, 30 odd Olympias, more than that, really. 1982 was the first.
wow.
Hardly missed one since then until, just recently. Yeah, I'd be really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, because we really need this Olympia right now. Let me tell you, we need this Olympia.
Yeah.
So this has been the strangest year of most of our lives.
Yeah.
Unless somebody lived through World War II or something, I don't think they can claim that they've had any stranger experience in 2020. So
Well, even I'm not that old.
no. You're a baby boomer. You missed all
Yeah.
that.
I miss the Battle of Britain. Yeah.
You did. Yeah, that's right. You can look it up in the history book stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your insights, opinions. I know Phil Heath coming back it's the big hot story now because we really needed something to get us excited about this Olympia, especially with the quarantine and the COVID situation. We need something positive to look forward to. So the fact that this great champion is making a comeback, it's a light for all of us. It's really got us charged up and excited about the Olympia in a way that we weren't even a week ago. So
Definitely. Yeah.
cool.
So let's build on it. Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Well, definitely hope to talk to you before then, sir. But in the meantime, thanks for taking the time, Peter. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah. Thanks for asking me, Ron. I always appreciate it.
Okay, everybody,
You
thanks
take
for
care.
watching Ronline Report with this man, my favorite journalist of all time, not just bodybuilding, any journalism, Peter McGough. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.